What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Submission Fishing Podcast, not the live podcast. If you guys are new here, typically I would do a live show, or I have been doing a live show for almost the past 2 years on YouTube. Switched some things up, moved out from California to Florida, and just based on like the time, kind of zones and stuff like that, switch. Most of the audience is on the West Coast, so we're kind of switching it up to do like a pre-recorded podcast, the traditional sense. And I think it's a good opportunity. We'll be able to upload them up to Spotify and YouTube and everything like that. So if you guys are new here, welcome. My name's Muto. That's my last name. And I'm the owner of Submission Fishing. And basically Submission Fishing is, I started it as a YouTube channel to basically spread the word about slow pitch and slow pitching, primarily for like smaller fish. Bay bass and smaller bay fish in Southern California is where it started. And then from there, we've just gone into everything. We make a 10 gram all the way up for trout, freshwater fishing, all the way to a 600 gram for big tuna, rockfish, the tile fish, the snapper we've got out here in Florida. And in the genesis of starting the show, I started making slow pitch jigs. So I started the show to kind of evangelize slow pitch jigging, and then we started making slow pitch jigs shortly after when we couldn't find the ones that we wanted. This show itself is not a slow pitch jigging show per se. We talk a lot about it and stuff like that, but it's not like a dedicated slow pitch show. The goal of this show is to basically talk about fishing from everywhere, coast to coast, Southern California to Florida, freshwater fishing, surf fishing, pretty much everything in between. So we're going to kind of meld it all together. And if you guys like what you hear, like I said, we've got probably 100 plus episodes on YouTube you guys can check out if you want to really catch the vibe. As far as that goes, I've just been fishing. Mostly I was a party boat guy when I was a kid, hopping on sport boats, and then transitioned to some shore pounding, and then eventually got into kayak fishing and then boat fishing, got my own boat. So I pretty much do it all. And the genesis of submission fishing kind of came from jiu-jitsu as well. I'm a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu through Alliance, and I used to coach in Southern California, and I've kind of moved into Florida here where we plan on opening a gym, and it should be good. But there's so many parallels between Brazilian jiu-jitsu and fishing, and that's where the name came from, where it's individual sports, but also they require teams, to get better. Nobody can fish for you and nobody can roll for you, but you really need that community that gets you better and shares the knowledge and train together. And then, you go out to execute. And not only that, so many similarities in styles too. People have so many styles in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and so many people have styles in fishing. Was just a good mix. So kind of my two loves, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and submission fishing. That's just the small kind of, I guess, in a nutshell, of what we are and what we do. We sell jigs, we produce jigs, and more than anything, we're just here to get everybody a black belt in fishing, and that's the ultimate goal. So today we've got a good show. I got my buddy Kevin Nakada is going to come on. This guy's definitely a black belt in fishing. We're going to talk about life in Florida, life in California, and just give you guys some universal tips as well. I think that we can use. We'll kind of roll those in, and should be good. So without further ado, I'll bring in the myth, the man, the legend, Kevin Nakada. How you doing, Kevin?
Good. Wow.
I had to talk it up, man.
Nah, man, that's a lot.
So yeah, Kevin, just tell us a little bit about yourself. People that don't really know you or aren't familiar with the show. I know some of the California guys definitely know who you are, but I imagine we're going to be getting some new audience here, and especially on the East Coast and stuff like that, being on Spotify and everything. So go ahead and give us the quick rundown of who you are and what you do.
So, I'm a diehard angler from the start. Since I was born, this is all I've wanted to do. And I've made a couple of careers out of it. I'm obviously one career, which is in the fishing industry, and that's pretty much where I'm going to stay for the rest of my life. But I've made a couple businesses out of it. One was my first one called Sea Samurai, which was a kayak fishing guide service in La Jolla, California, which was very good. It was very labor intensive, and it was successful. I was out there at least 6 days a week, and when I was starting to
Wow.
fade out, it was like every weekend. And then but that was very good. It just was very time consuming and very labor intensive. So the genesis of what I've done working through Hobie for 8 years, at the corporate level, up to where I'm at now. I started a business where we're basically a sales rep for the sales rep firm for many different brands, including Submission Fishing Company, and we are responsible for putting product inside of fishing stores specifically for that branch of the company, Fishing Reps, and that's the name of the DBA for that company. And we put products inside of stores, and we get a commission off of the sale. That's at the wholesale level, and that's how we make money. And it's been a great ride. It's been a grind, and it's exciting to see some of these brands explode like Submission. And I went and traveled all the way out to where you are at right now in new Submission Fishing headquarters, and fished my way through there, and I'm tied in the family now. So it's been good, man.
That's
It's been
cool.
good.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you were out here. Those of you guys that like don't know, it's kind of the genesis. I grew up in Southern California, lived there for 41. I'm 41 years old, so 41 years of my whole life. And recently, I just moved out to Florida. We had a place out here in St. Augustine, um, like a vacation home for a while, and we kind of fell in love with it. And just recently, we made the move. We just packed up everything and bought a house in Jacksonville, right there on the river, just so we can fish every day and should be good. And you came out, so Kevin, you came out prior to me.
Yep.
Um, you're in California now, but you've been back and forth. You came out and I see your bed, so I went in the house and I just saw your mattress sitting on the floor of my house, and you made the
That was
road
it,
trip like all
man.
the way across the country, and you were hitting for Texas and pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. So myself and my girlfriend Paige, who is your sister. Uh, yeah. So I'm tied in the family that way. We went out from California and drove all the way to Florida, and we hit a few stores along the way and met some people and drove out to ICAST, fished along the way. Used Submission Fishing Company in New Mexico and tried in Texas. It just wasn't happening there so much. Um, Caught some white bass on submission jigs and ended up in Florida and at the new headquarters. And that place is loaded. So fished there for a long time. Fished there for 2 months, pretty much straight every day I could, doing some work, going fishing, getting content. But I'm excited to have the boat over there, the submission boat.
Yeah, we got the boat delivered finally. Actually, shouldn't even say finally. It got there in like I don't know if these dudes just like don't sleep or what, but
They don't say.
that boat got there in like 3 days, and then our cars we got shipped legit were like 2 days. They got the cars out here, and the pods we don't have, so we still don't have any of like our belongings. Those have been taken forever. I don't even think they've left California, but it's like when they get shipped, I mean that stuff is gone. Like they get it here quick. I don't know how those truckers do it, but I mean it's almost a 3,000 mile trip, and they
They're
got it here quick.
motivated. They're motivated.
Yeah,
Couldn't
yeah,
burn.
definitely. That's
The
funny.
more jobs they can get, the more money they make. So
Yeah, that's
that's
funny. And
good.
so I talk about, so I brought you on, and I just want people to know too, like even though that we work together and we're business partners, and you're currently dating my sister and everything else, it's not like you're just on the show to because I know you. Like we fished, we knew each other before all this, so I knew Kevin like long before we were part. I'd go fishing on your boat. Remember I took you out. We go bluefin fishing and stuff like that. And that was before your fishing reps was even a thing, or maybe you were just getting started. But I wasn't involved. Like I wasn't doing jigs, um, and anything like that. So we definitely
Oh yeah, it's
had to.
been.
We were fishing together long before it was like we had any type of. We're kind of intertwined now, but even before that, it was we had a
Oh
fishing
yeah,
history. Yeah,
yeah.
long
No,
before
it's
that, kayak fishing and everything else.
probably since like 2020
Yeah,
or
2020. Yeah,
2019. Yeah. So it's just been one of those things where one thing leads to another, and then who knows what's going to be next. But
yeah,
um, like
it's true.
when you were first getting going, I know that I had fishing reps going for like probably maybe a year at that point, maybe a
I I
little less.
I think so. Yeah,
And
maybe
then
it's really hard to chronicle when it was, but
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then it was just me at the time, and it wasn't anything like it is now, where it's like an ordering system. It was just like me. Well, actually, you came on, and you were the kind of the impetus for me to try to grow it from that, from where it was, which was old school, to more of a
right.
more automated system. So, which is where we're
Yeah,
at now.
right.
But
Because I
but
was doing the live show, I think, and I hadn't even like talked to you about products or anything. I was just like I was doing the live show, and then I decided, to make jigs because we couldn't find them and stuff like that. And then you were
right.
watching, and that's really how it all kind of connected. You were like, "Let me rep your stuff." I was like, "Okay." It wasn't even like a really planned thing, like, "Oh, we're gonna do all this." It was like you were doing your thing, I was doing mine, and yeah, the paths just kind of crossed and it worked out. So that's really cool.
Yeah, we've definitely put our time in. Each individual brand has done its thing, and you've done your thing. And man, you're gonna be in a place where slow pitch jigging is like so underdiscovered everywhere right now that it's gonna explode. Like I was when I was over there, my first what really wanted to try like catching over there was mangrove snapper on 10 and 15 gram jigs, but like um I honestly just got lost in shallow water redfish fishing.
Yeah,
And but man, there you're in a place where literally in your backyard too, like your backyard, 10 minute pedal from your backyard, there's tarpon, there's bull redfish. Like seriously, like I was dropping the kayak
I'm
from your
excited.
backyard. So when you have your boat there, just think about what we're gonna do there. Like it's or what you're gonna do there too. Like without me even being there, like you're gonna be catching grouper any day now. Like it's gonna be crazy. So,
Yeah, super
um,
exciting. I
yeah,
feel like
I'm
slow pitch
excited.
jigging out here was like it was more known here in Florida. I think it was even in California when we started doing. I was doing it in like at 2020. It was like it was unheard of, man. And I think in Florida it was a little more known for sure. In Japan and Australia, but California is always like there's such a good fishery there, but it's always like last. It seems like to pick up trends. It seems like it goes Japan, Australia, Florida, California. You think that's
Yeah,
right? I mean, California's got its own like it's got surface iron. It's kind of got its own techniques, but it seems like we get the trends like last.
yeah, I think it's because there's a lot of mentality of old school fishing methods, and it's stubbornness, and it's also like confidence. And why change? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? That's
Yeah,
kind of the mentality.
and it's I
Um,
respect that too, especially in fishing. Like if you're catching fish, I mean, why would you change it? But I think there's better ways to do it, and it's hard to get people on the uptick on that. Definitely.
yeah, you're about to see some major changes though. Like there's a shop over in Florida who literally does nothing but sells slow pitch jigging equipment. Like
That's awesome. That was
amazing.
in Jacksonville, or where was that?
Hold on a second.
So I guess not Jacksonville. I know,
No,
like Miami. I feel like South, it's a little more popular.
well, it is popular up there. So let me see really quick.
Yeah, I know for like the snapper and stuff like that. I mean, my goal is really, like I talked about this on my last live show, is to kind of come out here and really try to prove the micro jig stuff on the in the rivers and all that.
hmm Yeah, so this company I'm looking at right here is in Pompano Beach, and Real Deal Bait and Tackle.
Interesting.
Yeah, they do nothing
That's all they
but
do.
slow pitch jig and other new or like pretty much just slow pitch jigs. So,
That's awesome.
but
That's cool.
and yeah, I would assume that we're gonna get into there. I hope that they'd be interested enough to understand where we're at, and I think your designs are definitely different. Um, but yeah, it's they carry everything. So um, it's exciting to know like there's actually like a community who's tried it out, who's willing to take the risk and not feel like they're subjugated to a lot of criticism, which is what more or less people who get involved with new techniques feel at odds with their community if they don't feel like that it's something that they're going to be welcomed into, an old school crowd. If they feel like there's going to be a struggle to even get to that point where they can have a conversation about it, why would they even bother like getting into it? It's a challenge. It's for someone to want to you know, be the risk taker. Not a lot of
Right.
people are willing to do that, whether it's business or otherwise. You know, it's just one of those things. So, um, yeah, I think that a lot of people respect the fact that you've put in your time, and you know, you may not have been the first one to do it, but you're definitely putting in your time, and you're sticking to your guns, and you're using what you're producing, and that's a big deal. So,
Yeah. I think we were. I mean, we weren't the first ones doing it. I feel like our fishing crew, the MMFC out there in California, we might have been. I think the first ones doing it for like the spotted bay bass and stuff like that. Definitely. I hadn't heard about it
yeah.
prior to that. I mean, that's why we started making the jigs and the small stuff just to fish the spotties and the little sea bass out there. So that's really my goal is out here in Florida. I want to see what we can get in the bays with that stuff, you know, or not the bays. I guess it's rivers out here, the St. John's River and stuff like that.
There's
And
bays
there's
too. Yeah.
definitely some bays. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot
Um,
of stuff that, you know, there's a lot of places people are fishing. Um, and they're like I said, they're not as closed off and mentally on trying to like try something new. They're willing
you
to
think
try.
it's more open here than California? Is that what you're saying?
As far as what?
Trying new stuff and different techniques.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's way more people willing to try, you know, new different techniques out there. Um,
Interesting.
I, I also think that the it's only a certain kind of person. I don't think every person in the entire I don't think there's every kind of angler is going to do it. I think there's a certain
Oh,
angler,
sure. Sure. Yeah.
and
I
those
think that's
anglers
where you
that
go back to. I think that goes back to like that jujitsu parallel that I talked about. You know, when you like when you become a black belt in jujitsu, it's you typically have a style and you have techniques that you use, and it's called a game. It's like you play a certain game, especially when you get to the black belt level. It's like you kind of know everything, or not know, but like you're aware of everything, but you only use your A game stuff when you really want to compete. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
challenge somebody. And I think fishing's like that too. People, I think, tend to find a style and then they stick to it. It's a style they like. I don't think every style suits everybody. And I think
Yeah,
some
I
people
also
like,
think it's like this though. Like, okay, you know, you're saying that, you know, maybe it's more or less of a person that's you know, willing to come to the table with an idea. But that's not really common in my opinion. What I think is more common is when someone goes, "Hey, what are you using? Like, how are you catching so many fish? Like, what are you doing?" You know, and it's more of like when someone's kicking their ass kind of thing. They want to know about like what it is they're
oh
using.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Like that to me is more or less like what people are trying to. When someone takes a risk, it's because they're trying to get an edge on someone. So maybe that's what you're trying to communicate too. Like in jujitsu, is like if someone comes to something with something new that no one knows how to attack or how to defend, right, against, then they don't, you know, see as many openings or just haven't had practice against it. Yeah, you're going to have an edge up on that opponent,
Yeah,
right?
totally,
So I think in
totally.
fishing, we don't like to, you know, maybe make it about winning or losing, but in the end, like if I can go out there and outfish, you know, a person that's, you know, out there with me, against me, yeah, that's my whole goal, is to outfish that person. I'm not even going to be shy about it, right?
Right.
um
Yeah, I think that's just inherent human nature. Even though I've competed in tournaments, you've competed in tournaments, we've kicked ass in some tournaments, we've lost in some tournaments,
sure.
but it's even when you're not like in a traditional tournament, you still always want to catch more than the next guy. Even if
Sure.
you're just like, even if there's two people on your boat, three people on your boat, you still want to be the one with like the most and the biggest fish. That's just like it's inherent. I think that's just human nature to, especially in fishing. Even though it's not like when you're with buddies, it just I've never had it where it's like you're salty with the other, but everybody loves ribbing somebody when you know you've caught the biggest and the best that day or the most, you know,
Of
for
course.
sure. Like
Of course. Yeah, I mean, like
that's totally true.
the perfect example of this is there's these guys that are on these boats right now who are using a myriad of new techniques, but like, you know, poppers when it first got on the boats. That was one of these techniques where people were like, what are you doing? You know, like this
Yeah.
isn't Panama. This isn't like Costa Rica. This isn't like this is Southern California. What are you using a popper for tuna for? And then watch, it just got smoked. Everywhere else, it was all, they were already on it way, 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 way before everyone else. Stick baits too. Like, you know, people are just talking crap about it. They still do. But there's those guys that are out there who have just, they don't talk about it. You know, they just don't talk about it. They just fish it and it catches fish and they don't tell anyone about their success. And sometimes it means money, like commercial guys. And most likely it's because of money, right? You have an edge on someone, so you're financially going to out fish someone else. You're going to exceed the other person's productivity. But, um, you know, there's a lot. Like, yeah, probably one of the bigger ones that came around was fish finders, right? I'm sure that before you and I were even born, people were just all about the sounder, the one that was, you know, up and down.
Right.
I forget what that the blinking version of it. I forget what it's called. Anyways, everyone's probably like, oh yeah, you know, that was it. That was the way to go. And now everyone's talking about, you know, side scan, forward sounding, you know, emitting fish finders,
Live scan.
live scan. Like, dude,
Yeah.
it's totally different. So, you know, if someone gets an edge on someone, do they talk about it? It's tough. You know, most people don't. So, I think
Yeah.
you're in that time where slow pitch jigging is right there, like to the point where people are like, and you can see in SoCal, right, with spotties specifically. Do you remember the first time like you fished your jigs and like literally every drop there was fish on your line, and
Yeah. Oh
people,
yeah.
and then you tell someone that, right, and you tell them, no, for real, like you drop this down, you don't even need to work it. It gets bit
Yes.
before it
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
hits
Yeah.
the bottom. Imagine telling that to someone. Like,
People don't
does
believe it.
that even
Yeah.
like
That's
calculate through someone's brain?
right.
Like, okay, wait,
Right.
I don't have to do anything except for throw this thing out and let it fall to the bottom. Like,
Yeah. The
how
jig
would
does
you
the
react
work,
to
and
that
yeah.
if you're a bait guy all your life fishing for mackerel on a pier, right? And you had to dunk a piece of mackerel in the water and sit there for hours on end watching your piece of mackerel, hoping the god it would get sniffed, if it would get bit. What if you never even had to like sit there? You just dropped and you were bit. Like, right? So
Right.
totally
And
different.
what's you want to know what's funny
Totally different
is
success rate.
you were. I think you were in that boat too,
Yeah, I
because
was.
when we first started talking, and even when we were, I was like, oh yeah, I'm bringing these jigs out. I remember you hadn't even fished them for the spotted bay bass, and we
No,
were like, we got to do the tuna stuff, which we did, right? We make big tuna stuff, and big stuff for the rockfish. We're like, we got to go 400, 600 grams. We got to get down the current. I was like, yeah, dude, 100%. We did that. At that point, I was like, I don't even think you had fished the small stuff before,
nope.
and you went out. I think you were in that same boat, and you went out there. I gave you some because you're like, oh yeah, you got to rep them. Like, here, just go fish them. And you live streamed that day, the very first time you tried them, because it was that exact same thing, and you caught like what,
It was
12 fish or something
literally,
like that, like in within that hour span that you went live. And it was like, then you were a believer. And I think until you tried it, it's like it's hard to explain like how well it worked.
yeah. But that's every single jig that you make. So
Yeah.
every single person is going to do the same thing. They're going to ask the same question, like to themselves: does it really work like that? Is it really that good? And then when you actually like tell them, yes, it's that good, then they change their mind, right? Then they start to believe. Um, I just think even for us, like it's we have to go out there and make people believe in, and we have to believe in ourselves to sell it, you know. So, um,
That's where
but
Florida, it's like for us, it's the new frontier. I mean, we got to go prove it again. And that's what's exciting, too. I'm looking forward to really meeting people out here that like have that same kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
drive, passion,
Yeah, not the
uh,
same drive, but sort of that
taking.
same discovery. Somebody that's willing, people that are willing to go out and like try it and discover it, and then evangelize for it. Once they realize it works, like, dude, we gotta. start getting the word out. I mean, that was my whole thing, was starting the channel before I was even making jigs, just to get the word out about it. It was like this new technique we'd found. And we're not talking like slow pitch jigging for like rockfish. We're talking like
Grouper.
people that don't understand these bass in California. They're like the spotted bay bass. They're like a sport fish. They used to kind of be a fish that nobody even cared or caught about, but in like the last few decades, they've become so many tournaments are based around it. They're probably the biggest recreational fish out there because you can fish them year round. They don't get very big. Max is like 20, like 20 inches, like a godfish. If you can catch 20s, that's big. Legal, when we say legal to keep, nobody keeps them, nobody really eats them. 14 inches, but they range, like if you catch a 14-inch, 15-inch, that's like a good fish. But they fight like hell for their size. They're super fun, they're abundant, and there's so many tournaments based around them. So, yeah, getting them to eat a jig like that was really fun discovery for sure. And that's what I want to do out here. You know, is
Oh yeah.
will the redfish eat them? Will the drum eat them? Will the mangrove snapper eat them? And
oh yeah,
everything
everything
in a new style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to get away from the thing about Florida too is like the bait here is a big thing because everybody, like, you can cast nets. Like there is no net fishing in California. You know what I'm saying? Like none. Like you cannot throw nets here. You can to catch bait. And out here, it's really easy. I mean, you just go up to. I see people at the docks. They just throw the net down, throw some, bait in their bucket, and they go out and fish. And that's definitely a challenge to show people that can something compete with bait and be more efficient, which I think it is. You know, we've gone into that. I think artificial fishing is you're always fishing. You're not having to stop. You're not having to rebait. You can power fish. I think there's definitely merit to it, but I think a lot of people are so reliant on bait, they're scared to switch off of it, and I think that's where
I think
that's where we could open some eyes, basically.
I think people will surprise you out there, if they know something is going to outfish their the next door neighbor on the dock or whatever. If they know they're going to get that same, edge on someone, they're going to fish it, they will fish it. The real interesting part of where you're at is like, how will the fish interact with the lure? Like are they more aggressive? They're less fished. Are they tuned to a certain size jig? Are they tuned to a certain fall rate? Are they tuned to a certain color? Like, what is it they're going to be into? One fish I really think the javelin and the assassin will be critical for is cobia in Jacksonville. In April through June, when they start running beaches, I've been reading that, and I'm not a Jacksonville angler yet. I've just been dabbling, right? And I realize I've caught fish. I'm not going to say I haven't caught, but I'm definitely not like born and raised from there, right? So, but what I have read is that there's a lot less cobia running the beach because there's less manta rays running the beach, and they follow them up the coast.
Oh,
and
interesting.
So cobia, when they're migrating, are sitting up on reefs now, roughly 60 feet, maybe, give or take, shallower or deeper, but they're running away from the beach a little bit further, and they're still migrating, but they're not nearly as plentiful on manta rays, right? So I know that the fall rate of a 60-gram assassin is pretty money in 60 feet of water.
Super slow.
I mean, it takes forever to get down.
Yeah.
And the amount of flash that these things throw and everything, I'm just really excited. I think it's got huge potential. I think you catch more than just cobia, like snapper, are going to go ape all over these things. But if you tell someone at the dock, like, I use this, and they go, huh, and they think about how much time and money they're saving by using a jig, it might make sense, right? They don't have to go and throw a throw net, get their boat dirty, waste time trying to make bait, right? Catch bait to go out. They just go. What if you
right,
told someone you could save them an hour's worth of headache on catching bait to just go?
right, yeah. That's 100%. I mean, that's why I like. That's why I don't like live bait. Even in California, we have um, when you out there they have party boats, right? Where you I haven't seen those out here. It seems like
But
they're
they're out.
private, kind of.
They're not in Jacksonville as much, I don't think, but they're
Yeah, but like
definitely
on the West
like,
Coast, you get 30 to 60 people pile in on these boats and then they go fish. Um, but yeah, one of the benefits was always just like you would go bait up. So they would go to a bait receiver and then they would load up with the bait. You definitely didn't get it yourself, but I just hate sitting by the bait well and trying to hook bait, stuff like that. Even when you're bottom fishing, I've talked about that. When you're fishing deep, especially if you're like here in Florida and you're fishing a reef and you send a bait down, whether it's a shrimp or a mackerel or whatever it is, when you got a heavy weight on that thing, and this was something I've always preached, is like sometimes you don't know when that bait's gone, and you're not fishing. You're
right,
just down there with a weight. Like your bait could have been fallen off or got eaten halfway down, and you're just sitting there bouncing away. Like when do you check it? 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Like you don't know. Maybe you lost your bait on the way down, and you're not fishing at that point. One thing I love about the jigging and the slow pitch jigging, particularly, you're always fishing. You can feel the weight. You know what's on there. You're not worried about like, oh, did I lose it or am I not? Like, no, if it's on there and you're lifting it and you're feeling the weight on that jig, like you're fishing. You don't have to come up.
right.
You don't have to check it and stuff like that. So I like the active non-waiting portion of it. Instead of going to like in Southern California, I don't rush down to the bait tank to go put a bait on. I just grab my rod and fish off the side because I got a jig on. You know what I mean? I
Time in the
like that a
water.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people can't yeah, and one of the probably biggest downfalls to any we actually I really recently experienced this. So I'm out here commercial fishing for bluefin right now, aboard a captain's boat named Joe Daly. And
Yeah. So you're commercial fishing. Like, let's talk about it. Have you ever commercial fished before, or is your first
no,
time?
not no. This is it. So that's
That's
my first
cool. So
time
you've been out
making
there
money.
doing it for money, right? So you've competed, you've fished recreationally for years, but now you're trying to make a little extra scratch doing the commercial thing. That's
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, if I'm gonna go fishing and catch fish, and have a cool, boat to go out on and a great captain, might as well make some money doing it.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, so like we bring in, we brought in 1,200 pounds of bluefin tuna the other day for 8 fish, and he had to go sell it to the restaurants, which he has a license to for commercial fishing. And we do it all legally. It's not under the table, like you have to buy
Right.
licenses and you
Yeah.
have to own things, and you have to go through Coast Guard certifications for your vessel, and you have to register as a commercial vessel, and then blah blah blah. So all of it's all legit. But yeah, it's a grind. It's fun. Like I said, if you're gonna go out there and catch fish, you might as well go and you're not gonna eat them all. You might as well go sell them, right?
Yeah.
Um, you have to have the right licensing. You have to do this. To sell my sport fish, that's very illegal. But yeah, the fishing's been really insane out here. I was supposed to use some new submission jigs coming out here, but supposedly they're out in the middle of the USPS world on the ground somewhere, wherever the hell.
Yeah. Think about so we had what a pain in the ass. So you guys don't know we're doing like a soft. I'm gonna do kind of like a soft relaunch. Right now we're moving the warehouses and stuff, so we're revamping the website, um, moving the warehouse and stuff, and then but we got some new jigs coming too. We got some new sizes, new colors, and I sent some to Kevin to go out there and fish them. I sent them with the US. They do the prepaid packages. It was like the small package or whatever. Sent you, dude. It was probably like 6 jigs, and he calls me up yesterday. It was like, or it might have been today. Like, yeah,
It
I
was
got the box,
yesterday.
an
Yeah,
empty box, nothing in it, nothing in it.
so stupid,
They
so dumb,
either,
dude.
I don't know if they were too heavy. I mean, we wrapped them. I don't know. And even Jessica, she got a mail. She was like, dude, I saw the guy tape the thing shut. Like, I don't know if they got tossed in and just ripped out or somebody stole them thinking there was something else. I
Not
don't know.
not good enough.
Yeah. So what a
No.
heartbreaker, man. It's like, try to get ahead and get some promotional stuff done. And this is like, do you have the box? Did you just
Uh,
dump it?
yeah. Hold on,
That's so funny. Just hide your address.
hold on. It's right behind me, of course. I just went to like. Look how awesome this is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Look at, like, there's bullet holes in this thing. So here's where I think it went wrong. Like, they literally
You think
like.
they just fell out? Like somebody tossed the box in and they just slid out?
No, I think that was so heavy it pulled apart the box. See the tear right here?
Right.
So this whole thing just went whoop, right open and then opened up. And they were just like,
But they couldn't. They didn't just like put them back in. Like the
What?
package says 2 pounds, right?
Yeah, but they don't care.
But it's like when it tore, you don't think they would have just put them back in and taped it shut? Like
They don't
somebody had
care.
to have seen that.
No,
Or
they
they're
don't
just like,
care.
oh, that's interesting. Who cares? Just what a joke.
Yeah, they just were like, whatever, What was inside? I don't know.
I've got a whole bunch here. Should I show some here or should we wait?
When is this air?
Probably Thursday. So we hold off on it.
Show them like the back end of it.
Of
I don't
which
think
one?
that'll show them anything. Show them like the back half.
We could always edit it out too. Like
No, we ain't editing this. There it is.
that one. We got 3. It is pretty exciting. So
It is.
it's new
I could
sizes.
really use
People have been
them.
asking for these sizes for a long time. So
I could have really used them. I'm literally going out tomorrow, man. Like, god dang it, dude. I'm so pissed. Like, I would
you
have
still got
caught
the big ones, or are they gone?
Huh?
The 600 grammars. You still got them, or those are toast?
Oh no, I'm using those, but like we're not
Too
fishing.
heavy.
We're not fishing deep enough. Like
Interesting.
yeah, dude, it's crazy.
You guys are like what are you like 100 miles out?
I
Or
can't
something
even
like
tell
that?
you where we're at. I can tell you we're out there on the Outer Banks, like Tanner.
But
I
it's
can't
far.
tell you where
Yeah.
we're fishing. It's just
Well, of course,
too good.
of course.
It's too good, dude. I've never seen it like this. So
Is there like commercial tricks that just like don't get spoken about that
yeah.
the normal people don't know or use?
Oh yes.
Is there?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yes. Really good.
Are you guys like sworn to secrecy or?
Oh, I can't say anything, dude. I will get.
So there is
really
stuff that the commercial guys are doing that aren't.
Oh,
that normal
yeah.
people aren't doing. Oh wow.
No, yeah. I the first time I ever saw something like that, I was like, really? And he's like, watch.
Wow, that's cool.
And he outfished everything, like 6-1. And I was like, dude, this is insane. Like, and it works. And so yeah, there's things. That's
cool.
There's some tricks.
There is secrets. There's trade secrets for sure.
Yeah, I mean, most, in my opinion, like one of the things that probably doesn't happen too often is lures getting commercial fished,
Right.
unless they're like trolling jigs or something like that. Like there's just not fast enough. It's too much work. So like slow pitch jigging. Yeah, I mean we're talking tuna, right? Bluefin.
Right.
One bluefin is worth it. It doesn't matter how you catch it. It really does not matter. Like however you can catch or hook that fish and land it. People don't give a crap if you're on a commercial boat.
Right.
If you're catching fish, good for you. Like that's the way you should do it. But like for swordfish and other things like that, where like you're fishing in different depths and you're trying different things and you need to do very specific things and like all sorts of different kinds of fish. I'm just using a couple examples,
Right.
but if it's not quick, they don't care. It's not efficient, they don't care. So, but bluefin's kind of interesting where every fish matters. And so like if you can catch a fish, 2 fish, 1 fish, it's great. Like yes, put it down. If you have free time to do it and you're absolutely trying to catch a fish and you see them coming through, why not? So double hookups are welcome, triple hookups are welcome. Like it doesn't matter. Like
but there's
the
commercial have different regulations though too, right? Like they can do things that sport boats can't do, correct?
Yeah, so like they're
tools, so.
Well, I mean it's not too much different as far as difference in is like your maximum keep, right? Your catch. So you have to have certain licenses, but commercial guys aren't necessarily subject to recreational limits. They do different things. Like it's a commercial catch as a unit as a whole, as an industry, for each different species. So like
Right.
if
But I
you're
know like
reaching,
rockfish, for example, in California, you can only use 2 hooks, but they can
no,
use.
not commercial, no.
Commercial can use like. That's what I'm saying. They're not limited to the hook thing in commercial fishing. They can, but I think they can net even too, right? The commercial guys, I think for
Net,
rockfish, or they could throw the Ganyons with like
yeah, they
50
can
hooks on it.
net without certain permits. Um,
But I
but
mean,
like
I can't throw something down with 50 hooks on it, and 50
I,
pieces of bait. Like,
yeah, you can't do that. No,
yeah,
yeah, you
that's what
can't
I'm
do
saying.
that.
That's where like commercial guys can do certain things that you
Mhm.
just can't do as a recreational fisherman.
Yeah, yeah.
But for
But
bluefin, that's not really. I guess there's not really regulation on bluefin as
there
far as how
is.
you catch them.
Well, not how you catch them.
Not
Yeah,
how you catch them. Yeah, like
you
you can
do whatever
use,
you want.
4 hooks, different jigs. Like there's not
But
like a,
every fish matters. That's like my
yeah,
main thing is like you're not out there catching. If you're out there catching 20 in like 2 days, that's a phenomenal like 2 day trip. That's not like every day, right? And they all I'm talking over 100-pound fish. But if you're only catching 8, or you catch less than 8, right? And that's a good decent trip for a 2-person boat. Um, every fish matters. So like there's no technique that's off the table. As long as it's not interfering the other ones that actually catch fish, right? So if you're gonna try it, that's why I'm saying like some of these things that are developed are really from people who are incentivized to try it, right? Like kite fishing or there's a myriad of different kinds that I think were in Genesis developed by people who were incentivized to do it. It
right,
wasn't necessarily just because they were catching, it was because monetarily it affected them. It made them, whether it was a sport boat going out there, who is still a commercial vessel to actually, but they're incentivized to make more money because if they catch more fish, more than their competitor, they get those competitors or those clients to come on their boat, right?
sure,
So many different kinds of incentives. I think that on a smaller level, people that are trying it recreational have less skin in the game and less reason to try something new, because the only reason they would have a leg up on someone else is if they actually catch more fish. That's their incentive. Maybe not now. Nowadays, like people are kind of into promoting different brands and associating with certain industries and parts of the industry and lifestyle. And I think that that's cool. It never really used to be a thing, in my opinion. Like there wasn't always this super crazy hardcore live or die kind of mentality, live by brands, die by brands kind of mentality like there is nowadays. But
right,
um, I do think that a lot of the incentive for recreational anglers is much more minimal than a commercial guy. So when
definitely,
a commercial or a sport boat captain says something works, usually recreational anglers listen, right? So,
yeah, definitely. So you're gonna do the just like a stopgap thing? Or are you gonna do it more, or what do you think? The commercial thing?
I mean, it's been great. I own a house here in San Diego, and you own a house over in Florida. And shoot, if I can keep this place going, I'm just gonna fly there, hang out, go fish, promote your jigs, learn how to do it better, and do other things, and then I'll fly back and do more over here. So,
Nice.
um, I don't see myself not doing it as a side business. I like doing it; it's fun, and I have reasons to go out and try new things. And um,
You got quite a few brands though too, right? Like you're.
yeah,
How many
yeah.
brands you got working
Eight.
underneath your umbrella now? 8. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's more coming. So like the business is really flourishing and doing well on its own, and the guys that are working for it and making money, the reps are doing what they can. The brands are starting to blow up like they should, and it's totally a time in the market kind of business. You have to really spend your time grinding like you've never ground before,
Right.
to get market share, and it's like. Um, Sales are definitely the hardest part of any business. And I'll say that when you're working at the wholesale level and you're starting a company, it is probably the most difficult part of any part of the industry. Like to meet people who have never seen your product or know who you are, to walk in their store and shake their hand and say, "Hi, nice to meet you. Or
Right.
can you spend money with me?" They, it's not an easy conversation to have.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
and you know, we probably get the least amount of support by people that are in the industry because they see us as more of a mediator and less of a, like a initiator or like a influencer. They see
What's that as a rep group?
as a rep group. Yeah,
Okay.
there's just not that many people who actually go out and fish the product so
Right.
that they
Right.
represent. That's what makes
Yeah.
us different.
And that's
So
what your rep group is different. You know,
yeah,
that's what you, I think a lot of people hire rep groups. You started your rep group as a fisherman, and I think that's one of the most important thing. And you only fish what you rep.
that's
And
right.
I think a lot of people, a lot of not, I don't want to, shit on salesmen and stuff like that, but a lot of these rep groups, like some of these guys don't even fish. Like it's just they're
Yeah,
big companies. It's a job for them. They're and hey, I get it, man. You go out there and sell your reels, but some of these guys they don't fish at all. They're good salesmen. They work for a rep group. The rep group probably could represent a dozen different brands, and fishing is just one of them. On their product. So I think that's
yeah,
what makes you stand out, and that's what's so important is that you're a fisherman first that only fishes the products that you rep. But it's like in every person in your group is an avid angler as well, and they're also fishing this stuff. So that's really cool.
yeah. And it'll grow. You know, it's gonna grow pretty fast. So, um, hey, one thing that I'm really excited to try when you're in Florida, when we're over there, is to try deep water dropping, deep water jigging like we did over here.
Oh, interesting. It's
Yeah.
harder to. I mean, the deep. Yeah, but deep here is like 100 feet.
Well,
It's
for
like I
certain,
know you get deep, but just to put this in reference, when you guys are in Southern California, you literally are in thousands of feet of water, like almost instantly. Like you go over the hill, and it's like in some cases like a quarter mile or less. Like it's and it just drops off. The Pacific Ocean is super deep, and we look for high spots that you can actually get to. We were fishing 700, 1,300 feet, over the summer. And it's like I look at the map here in Florida, and it's like where I moved to, Jacksonville, and
yeah. How
it's
far is it
it's like
away?
it's very flat for a long time before you get any type of depth.
Yeah, it looks pretty like far away. Now I'm looking at like from you to St. August, from Jacksonville to St. Augustine. I think that's roughly 100 miles or something like that.
I mean, it's an hour drive,
Okay,
so
so less than that,
probably not even
probably
100
like.
miles. Yeah.
So from Jacksonville to the drop off to anywhere really deep out there, or relatively deep, I think that the trip is like 60 miles, dude, one way.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it's
a long
not.
time. I mean, we've done that on my boat, but not like one way. Well, I mean, we've done 150-mile round trips looking for bluefin usually though, and like looking for that time we went looking for the Dorado out of Oceanside. Like we put some miles, dude. We went way south, and we probably did close to 150, 130 miles for sure.
I think that the regular depth that you and I and whoever else will be fishing slow pitch jigs out there will probably be somewhere around 60, or not 60, probably like 10 to 12 miles offshore.
Yeah, but that's like 100 feet, right? Like those reefs and
Probably
stuff
not
like
even
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still fairly shallow.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we've got these. I still think the big ones are going to destroy there too, but the newer,
There-
little bit lighter ones will be good. But there's I want to get on some of those. Like, where are these people getting on the tile fish? I've seen people dropping 1,000 feet. We've got
Well, I think
600-gram
they're
jigs ready
launching
for
out
that.
of
So
Miami or Boca Raton
they're
or
more
like Fort
south.
Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're going out to like the edge, which is really close compared to what we're looking at in Jacksonville.
But it's still a
And
ways, right? Like
it's still like, yeah, it's still a ways, but it's
yeah,
not insane. Like,
right.
man, if you took someone from Florida and you went all the way out to Tanner Bank, they'd probably crap themselves. Like 120 miles from shore, you know?
Right?
Like, it's
People
not
do it all
close,
the
dude.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, like we
Which is
are.
funny because Tanner is more shallow, or so it's like you go past all the deep. Not like you don't fish the bottom anyways, but
No.
you go to like a more shallow area way out past the islands. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's far. Like people maybe don't realize, you know,
Yeah, you're sleeping
that,
on the boat.
yo, we were
Yeah.
sleeping on the Tanner. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's rough. um, but yeah, it is the the comparison from a West Coast angler to an East Coast, vice versa, East Coast, West. Um, there's just so much difference. Like people, you can't easily describe to someone from either side what the other side's like, you know,
Until you
uh,
try it. Yeah.
until you do it. Because then you're
People gonna
like,
trip
wow,
out. People are gonna trip out when they see my boat. They're gonna be like, "What the hell is this thing?" My
why do
boat
you have
was
a
made in
house,
the
man? Why do you have a little pilot house on your boat? Like,
right.
what are you covering from? It's like
Yeah.
95 degrees out here right now. Like,
I have an Arima, and they're made in the Pacific Northwest. They're made in Washington. I mean, they're designed for like um, just a different water, man. Different Pacific, colder, kind of rough seas. Yeah, it's like everything out here is center consoles, and because people don't understand, the Pacific is way colder than the Atlantic, way colder.
it
You do
depends on
not
where
want
you're looking, but yeah,
you do not want to be catching water spray when you're going on a long trip. Like even in summer, when you're the hottest the water gets here is like 74 in some areas, and that's like you got a little window with that. Most of the time, it's 60s, 60 degrees, high
yeah,
60s, mid 60s. I've seen it in the low 50s, I mean high 50s, and it's like you do not want to be catching that spray when you're going hauling ass, out there to the water. It's
yeah,
not out
but
here where it's 80-degree water. You're like, who
yeah.
cares?
No,
You're
you're
like, just
totally in a
yeah,
different place now. Like
yeah,
you're not gonna be doing that, you know?
yeah,
Um, no, you're gonna be in 90-degree water.
yeah. Like, who cares if you get wet? It
Freezing.
just evaporates so quickly, anyways. It's like hotter. It's totally different. People. California is like it's known for everybody's like, oh, there's the sun and the beaches, but I did not see 80 where I lived coastal in San Diego. I did not see an 80-degree temperature all year, all summer. I don't think it ever hit 80 degrees this year.
No,
Inland
no.
it did a little bit, but where I was at the coast, I could say I did not hit 80 degrees all year. We had a few days in like the high 70s. Like it's not
I
like
think in
years
Key
years
West,
past, which is it's just kind of abnormal. Last year we was hotter. There was days in the 80s for sure. I don't have AC, and we were roasting our ass off. But this year it was a very very mild summer.
I think in Key West this year, it was, which is the west side of Florida and the southwest side of Florida, the very bottom. It went up to 91-degree water. Corals were starting to
Yeah,
die.
that's nuts, dude. That's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah,
But
like
that's
when
cool.
I was fishing in Jacksonville, it was so hot. Like during the first time that I was fishing there, it was probably, I think that with the heat and the everything else, the real feel is how what they call it on AccuWeather. It said like 107 pretty much
Oh,
every day I was
interesting.
fishing.
Interesting.
But the water, surface water, was had to have been somewhere around 89 or 90. Like it was insane. So hot. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm fishing in 3 inches of water. Imagine what the fish are feeling. They must be
Oh
roasted
yeah.
from inside out. They
Right?
must.
They're almost baked by the time. How do they even live in that? That's crazy.
I don't know, but they did.
Wow.
But that's like that just shows you like where the fish are kind of at. They're different mentally. I think,
So if you fillet a fish, it's like is that fillet legit like 80 degrees?
dude, it's
When
hot.
it's like filleted out? It would have to be, right?
Yes,
That's
it's hot.
crazy.
You have to
That's
put it on
crazy.
ice. Like it's gonna,
Yeah.
it's gonna be too hot to eat. It's gonna be
Right.
disgusting.
Like out here, you can catch a fish and just throw it in your live well.
Yeah,
Chances are the water's cool enough, it's going to be okay. And you can fish all day, especially in the winter time. It's like,
right.
yeah, throw it in that 58-degree water. You'll be good. That's interesting. Yeah, so many changes. It's going to be an adjustment for sure.
Well, you're going
But I'm
into
down
a
for it. I
time.
like the hot weather though.
you're going into a time now where Florida, from like, September and going into October, really October on through April, is the winter of Florida, if you call it a winter.
I think it's my understanding the
The dry
Northeast
season.
does get a little more temperate. Like the temperatures change
Oh
more
yeah,
so
it's
than
gonna be beautiful.
the South. Yeah, like it
Yeah,
gets
it's gonna be
cold and
beautiful.
yeah.
It's gonna be beautiful where you're at. Like the fish are gonna be up in the creeks, like they're gonna be schooled up now, redfish, and there will be a lot less variety of cool stuff. There's probably still be snapper, but might be a little bit out now, away from the. Actually, snapper season is still. I think it is still going in October this year. But like, there's just a lot of differences. People think things start to migrate. The mullet run, which is typically running this time of year, is starting to come through where you're at. I don't know if it's actually going on. I was going to be there when it was going on, but then I came back and I got stuck, commercial fishing. So,
Right.
the uh, there's just a lot going on over there right now, and it's supposed to be even better. And then you get into like April, and things start to just they just go bonkers again because spring's coming and the fish start to migrate. And it's just like it's just like SoCal, where you have the Dorado, the Mahi Mahi, and the Yellowtail moving around, the bluefin coming up from Mexico, blah, blah, blah. It's the same in Florida. You have tarpon, you have, cobia, you have
Right.
snook and other things that move around, and they're migrating up and down the coast, and they're going up and down, bull redfish and all the different species. So pompano and fluke or flounder, whatever you want to call them. Um, I think there's just too much out
Halibut.
there. Was that?
Halibut. That's what we call them.
Yeah. Well, you can actually keep them smaller over there. So I think the legal size of flounder is 14 inches in Jacksonville.
Oh, nice. Doesn't have to be 22.
So tasty. Oh my God. Well, they just don't get that big. So
yeah.
They get probably like, I have seen some fluke and stuff be like 15 pounds, but I'm sure that
I caught a few, but they were just tiny ass little things.
Yeah, they're good though.
Their ass back.
They're delicious. Oh man, they're delicious. I lost a big one the other day when I was over there, like a month and a half now. Big one. I lost a big one.
Nice.
I was pretty pissed.
Nice.
So, yeah, cool. I can't wait to go back over there. I really think that the Assassin is just going to be too good. It's just depending on where you go. I've been trying dock fishing, by the way, over there, like dock flipping with it. I think there's huge potential over there, but let me just say that it ain't a spotty, dude. It's worse. Like you get absolutely taken inside those dock pilings. It's
interesting.
You could hook like a 30-pound redfish. Like it's it's different. So like you break off a lot over there, and there's gnarly oysters everywhere. So
yeah, that I have seen. The few times I fished, it's like low tide. You're seeing those oyster beds. It's crazy,
dude. It's pretty gnarly. Yeah. So when I'm back over there, I'm sure we're gonna find some cool stuff. But have that boat ready, man. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's ready, dude. It's good. Just sitting there. Good. Well, Kevin, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Talking some fishing with me. You guys, check us out, submissionfishing.com. And if you want some jigs, check out your local tackle stores. We're in like 20-something stores, I think, in the West Coast of it in California. Hopefully some to come in Florida. And check out our Instagram page, guys. Go to Submission Fishing on Instagram. And if you want to see the catches, like you see the variety of what we catch and how we catch them on YouTube as well. We're always posting. I'm always making videos and shorts, and other people are submitting stuff too. So hopefully we're going to have a lot more of this East Coast St. John's fish coming in. And if you guys want to follow the journey, check us out on there. And that should be good. Kevin, what do you got going on? Where can we find you, follow you?
You can follow everything that we're doing on Fishing Reps, fishingreps.com, Fishing Reps on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can find us, all the products that we represent, in the stores. We are getting into some Florida stores, and we're looking for more. So if you know a Florida store, then you would think that you want some of the products that we represent inside those stores, you should give us a shout or DM us, whatever you would like to do. Contact us. We'd love to get into those stores. And I can't wait to do some slow pitch jigging. I think it's going to be great. It really is in Florida.
Yeah. If you guys, you want to fish with us too, you can hit me up. Send me an info@submissionfishing.com. You can hit us up on Instagram. Just send me a DM, send me a message. We're here to meet people, and it's all about the fishing community. So we're here to expand, not just product sales at all. It's mostly about just having people to fish with and sharing the stoke and growing it and just turning it into a thing. Just getting as many black belts as we can in the fishing community. That's really the goal. Get people psyched, young people fishing. And that's really what it's all about. So thanks for joining. It's good checking in with you guys. I know it's been a couple weeks. The first maybe official podcast that was not live. Love being back, and this will be a regular thing, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Oos.